how men from India were tricked into working for the Russian military. Welcome to VOA Asia Weekly. I'm Chris Casquejo, reporting from the United Nations General Assembly in New York. That story is just ahead, but first making headlines. U.S. President Joe Biden used his fourth and final address at the UN General Assembly to urge unity in the face of challenges, including conflicts in Ukraine, Gaza, and Sudan. Washington's strong support of Israel has tested its standing here at the UN. Secretary General Antonio Guterres says nothing can justify the acts of terror committed by Hamas on October 7th or the taking of hostages. He also says nothing can justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. China's defense ministry announced that its military test-fired an intercontinental ballistic missile into the Pacific Ocean on Wednesday, carrying a dummy warhead in what it called routine annual training. People gathered in central Bangkok to celebrate the passage of the same-sex marriage law. Thailand's king endorsed the marriage equality bill passed by parliament earlier this year. The law officially makes the kingdom the first country in Southeast Asia to recognize marriages of same-sex couples. Nepal and Taiwan have already done so. Sri Lanka swore in Anura Kumara Dissanayake as president. Voters rejected the old guard leadership accused of leading the country into an economic crisis. The 55-year-old ran as the head of the Marxist-leaning National People's Power Coalition. He defeated President Ranil Wickremesinghe, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, and 35 other candidates. Foreign diplomats from at least 15 countries visited the Jammu and Kashmir region on Wednesday to witness the second phase of the first regional legislative assembly elections held in a decade. A man from Indian-administered Kashmir says he was deceived into working for the Russian military and is recounting the ordeal he went through with several others from his homeland. VOA correspondent Muhit Islam has more from Srinagar in Indian-administered Kashmir. Arash Arbasadi narrates.
For 8 months, 32-year-old Azad Yousef Kumar from Pashwan and Pulwama, Kashmir, desperately longed to return home while working for the Russian military against Ukraine. He says he was deceived into the job after answering an online advertisement for a job as a security helper in Moscow. He signed a contract in Russian without translation. 3 days after arriving in Moscow, Kumar says he and 6 other Indian nationals were transported to an undisclosed location, given Russian military uniforms, and put through military training.
I was injured within the first week during training and was later hospitalized. After recovering a bit, I looked for my friends and fellow nationals, only to learn that they had been sent to the war zone, along with some Egyptians and Nepalese.
Kumar says while working with Russian forces, he dug trenches and built makeshift bunkers in eastern and southern Ukraine, working continuously for days without enough food or water.
I have no words to describe my suffering. Honestly, we weren't even concerned about the hardships. Our only motive was to stay alive and return home.
Back home, Kumar's family was gripped by fear after learning of the hardship and dangers he was facing. They reached out to the Ministry of External Affairs and Parliament for help. Finally, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Russia and reportedly discussed the issue with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Modi visited there twice and it facilitated his return. We had appealed to authorities regularly to help bring them home. Thankfully, the majority of these who had been tricked are home after a long wait. We're all happy.
Kumar says he managed to survive by refusing to learn to speak Russian, while those who did learn the language were sent to the front lines with Russian forces. Kumar and 34 other Indians returned home, but he says many others are still there, and he urged the government to help bring them home too. For Muhit al-Islam in Srinagar in Indian-administered Kashmir, Arash Arbasadi, VOA News.
Visit voanews.com for the most up-to-date stories. I'm Chris Casquejo. Finally, meet Thailand's new viral star. She is Moo Dang, which is Thai for bouncing pig. The baby hippo catapulted to fame when videos of her went viral on social media about 2 weeks ago. Moo Dang's TikTok account now has more than 2.6 million followers. Thanks for watching VOA Asia Weekly.